What is going on, my friends? It is the DeFi after party. Back at it again with another video for you. Today, I got some more tickets for you, of course, because otherwise, who else would I be? So, in this video, what I want to go over essentially is a Plazm update. I haven't done one of those in a minute. And then we'll also be talking about some other cool stuff um, that I really believe is going to help you out. Like I said, I got some tickets for you today. So first, let's go over Plazm. So I haven't made a video since the big unlock, which was basically day 78, 79, etc., 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 which is essentially the end of the first cycle, the beginning of the second, which we all thought that we were going to see this big tank in the Plazm price, which we did not. Actually, let me pull that up. I had to bring up the chart and then I had to remember which day was essentially the first couple days of all the big unlocks. So the first big unlocks, if I remember correctly, was somewhere around December 14th. Currently, today's January 7th. So it's been about 3 weeks and some odd days since then. So here around this time is when the big lock's going to happen. And we thought that we were going to see some big sell-offs, right? Because previous to that, we did see some big sell-offs. See if I can get the chart over. Earlier, before that, leading up to, the 77th, 78th, 79th day. As you could see in the chart here, we went from, it was even higher than that, but, went from 40 cents. I mean, we were starting out in the dollars, then to 40 cents, then lower and lower and lower. Eventually, we kind of get into the 8-7 cents type of area before the big unlocks. And then the big unlocks happen. And really, there was sell-offs. I think the first day, if I remember correctly, that the big unlocks happened, we saw somewhat of like one or two, big sell-offs. And I believe the price of Plazm, the lowest I saw it go, was in the 1 cent range. But that got gobbled up so fast by the buy and burn and buy and build, plus people were also buying, that it was literally 1 cent for probably a 1 minute or less, right? And it came up back to 2, and it came up to 3, then 4. As you can see, here's the price over here. And it basically stayed at around 5 cents or so, came back up. And as you can see, current price as of today, three to almost 4 weeks later, we're at hovering in the 5 to 6 cent range. And we've had, some other sell-offs where we hit, 4 cents and whatever. But basically, the floor has been around the 5 or 6 cents range for almost, a solid 2 or 3 weeks now. So pretty crazy. Really what AJ and the team have done here with Plazm, with the mechanics. Shout out to Cryptographics, the one who originally created Taurus and Unity, the protocols that came before this one, and Plazm essentially there's a fork of that, and then added the real yield from the bonds, which are basically fueling, Fueling, fueling the buy and burn. Pull up the stats here, and the buy and build. And And so this is basically, the mechanics of the protocol were already good, but now that AJ and the team put the DexFi bonds behind the protocol to fuel the buy and burn, the buy and build, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, it was basically like adding gasoline to the protocol, to the fire, right? Because every time that a creation or stake has been done with a protocol that added ETH into the bonds, we currently have 164 ETH in the treasury, which at current value, USD value, is essentially $500,000. And here's the amount of bonds that has bought since day one, 7,132 bonds, which is fueling the buy and burn, the buy and build, which to date has made us $579,000. Let's just call it 500 rounded up, $580,000 to use. Sorry, this is not this is not made us. This is what it's worth. It has made us today $58,417, which this money right here was then used, or is able to be used, towards the buy and burn, the buy and build, right? Which is why, let me go back to the chart right here, which is why we didn't see a gigantic price dip when the sell-offs did happen. And as of today, really, the majority of the biggest unlocks in Plazm have already occurred, right? Where people that were staking and creating since day one have had the majority of unlocks are now completed, and therefore the people that sold, and the people that restaked for the second cycle and going forward have now staked and are, waiting for the next cycle to happen. And so what's very interesting, like I said, is we basically have now found this floor in price for Plazm. And what was I going to say next? And if you want to, let's see, let's go to the stats. Oh, that's what I was going to say. And since the buy and burn, the buy and build has done its job, what's very cool is the daily allocation that is for the buy and burn and buy and build has been turned up, and was slowly turned up going into these big unlocks around December 14th and 15th, and even moving forward from there. I saw that, originally, before all the big unlocks happened, that the daily allocation for each of these was at 1%. Same with the buy and build, was at 1%. Then, as we started getting closer to the unlocks, it started moving up. It went from like 1% to 2%, As the big unlocks came, we started going, I think these ones were turned up to like 2 or 3% each. And then the buy and build was turned up a little higher. And as we progressed, it eventually went from, I saw it at, I believe, 5%, and now we're at 10%. And the reason for this is so that, going back to the chart, is so that when people were going to basically be selling off at the lower levels price-wise, when it became 1 penny or 2 pennies or 3 pennies, what happened was the buy and build was able to gobble up a lot more Plazm, burn it, while simultaneously also building up the liquidity. On an AMA or a video I watched recently, we went, I believe AJ said we went from 50K liquidity for Plazm to now 80K ever since essentially maxing up or topping up the sorry, oops, that was the page I wanted. Since topping up the buy and build daily allocation. So now we're at 10%. And the reason for this is to essentially, while the price is lower, to put more money in so we can build up the liquidity faster. Pretty genius, if you ask me. I mean, the protocol is doing what it was meant to do, and it is basically on fire, if you ask me. Let's see here. So, what else did I want to talk about? So, let's go to, I just wanted to share this is my tutorial wallet. And so what I did was I had creates done that had finished on day 77 and I think like day 79 or so, somewhere around there. And what I did was the first thing I did with my first unlock or so was I just used easy mode. Wanted to test it out, wanted to see how it worked. Let's see here. This one's the earliest one. So this one's been in 23 days now because I did a 77-day lockup. And I don't remember how much Plazm I had, but I think I had, I don't know, maybe like 600-700 or something like that. And then easy mode basically sold off part of that Plazm to cover the staking fee. So the staking, the amount of Plazm I staked was 277. And then to date, so yeah, see, start date 12/15. So that was the first unlock day. It was 12/15. I was seeing it was around December 14th or 15th. But since this one was the very first one, this was the same day the first unlocks came available for me. So that was like day 78. And then I restaked, or I used easy mode right away to, put it back in. So I originally staked 277. I have earned to date after 23 days or so 436 Plazm. Now we have a total of 713, and we'll see where this goes. Basically, for this tutorial wallet, I'm just gonna, basically be doing 77 stakes for 3 cycles, maybe more. We'll see where it goes. Kind of wanted to see where, what happens and follow along the journey. I think it'd be interesting to see if I just keep restaking and make these videos to see where we end up. So, and then I did another one. This one was about a day later. I staked more Plazm on this one. I did easy. This is easy mode again. So this one I had more Plazm to stake because this one I staked 277. This one was 466. Total Plazm, total earned 673. And then total to date is 1.1. And again, this is 77-day stake. Pretty cool. So I did another one. This one I used ETH. I didn't use easy mode. I used ETH. This was basically a smaller stake. This one has been in for 2 weeks, 14 days now. Plazm staked 511. Total earned 386. Total today 897. Pretty cool. So we're going to see how this all turns out. So that is essentially the Plazm update. Now, what I wanted to do next was to really just look at the EMP system because as a whole, the EMP ecosystem as a whole, because AJ said something on a AMA and in the Telegram group a while back. And by the way, if you're not in the Telegram group, ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages, this is where you want to be. You want to be in the Telegram group. If you're in other Discord or in other protocols, you want to be, in their Discord channel and whatever other kind of outlets they have. Follow them on X or Twitter or whatever it's called, because usually in the Telegram and Discord channels, this is where you find the alpha. This is where you get the information that gives you a head start, that gives you the intel to what's going on with the protocol, with the community, and things you might not see or hear by listening to a YouTube video or being on a social channel like X, right? And so, first in the Telegram, this is where I first saw and heard this, was in the Telegram group, what I'm about to say, which was about EMP fusion. Now, I made a video on this. I believe I made a video on this. I haven't made a video in a while, been so busy, but I believe I made a video on Fusion, the new Fusion, their basically relaunch. It's kind of Fusion 2.0, if you will. And what it is, what it does, essentially how easy it is to understand now. And I'm not going to go over exactly, all the ins and outs of it today, but I made another video. I'll post it in my comments or in the description, the other video and whatnot about it if you want to go check it out. But AJ made a very great analogy about fusion. And, if you remember, let's go back to Plazm real quick. If you remember, when you get your Plazm unlocked, and if you go to sell it, when you go to sell it, it gives you EShare. Plazm into EShare. And if you remember some of my other videos, what am I hype on? EShare. Because I believe in the next year or so, EShare is going to do, I think I said a 20x, right? That was from when EShare was $20 when I made that first video. That EShare was going to do a 20x, which basically means it's going to hit 400, right? Maybe I even said 100x. I don't remember what I said anymore. But let me put it this way. In the long term, I believe EShare is going to be $1,000. Easy. And the reason why is because there's a limited supply of roughly 60,000 EShare, right? And there's probably less because of, people lost wallets, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But let's just say it's 60,000, right? 60,000 total EShare in existence on the base chain, right? So when you sell Plazm, it goes into EShare. Not financial advice. Do your own research. Don't take anything I'm talking about as professional advice, or that it's correct, because it's totally not. We're all just playing games here on the internet. That EShare, if once you sell it, and you sell it from Plazm, and then you get EShare, you might just want to hold it. Because since it has a low supply of 60,000 total tokens, eventually, what do you think is going to happen when all these big unlocks are going to happen from the participants in Plazm, right? I mean, there are going to be some pretty big unlocks that are going to happen in the next 1, 2, and 3 cycles of Plazm, right? And when the buy and burn does its job, because remember, let's go back to the burn page here. We are only operating at a 5% on the buy and burn with USDC and EShare here. And on the buy and build, we're only operating at a 10% and a 10% allocation as well, which basically means we're not operating at 100%. AJ said the other day, this is why I'm bullish on Plazm and EShare and the EMP ecosystem. But AJ said the other day, when the liquidity gets built up high enough for Plazm, because right now we're only at 81K, So imagine we get in the 100K, 200K, 300K, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, yeah, it's going to take a while to get there. But let's just say we get up to where AJ believes we should be, so that when big sell-offs happen, there's not this gigantic price impact. People can exit when they want, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But when that happens, he said, we can lower the allocation here and put the allocation into the buy and burn. Once that happens, then guess what? The buy and burn is then going to start buying and burning Plazm tokens, which basically means we're going to have the price start going up. Okay? So I just want you to think about something here. If the price starts going up, and we have these big unlocks of Plazm, and let's say, just for argument's sake here, I don't know if this is going to happen, but argument's sake here, let's say Plazm goes up to $1. $1. Okay? If you're in the Telegram group, you've seen pictures of people posting that they have, I think I saw somebody the other day that they have 85K basically staked, 85,000 Plazm staked. And let's just say it doesn't grow anymore, or let's just say it gets to 100,000. Let's just say it gets to, that person's bag gets to 100,000 Plazm, and the price of Plazm goes to $1. I'm going to do some quick math here on my phone. Current EShare price is $13. Let's just say by the time Plazm gets to $1, that EShare is 50. Let's just say. I don't know what it's going to be, but let's just say. We'll be generous here. So someone has $100,000 Plazm times $1 is $100,000. And let's say they sell an EShare, and EShare is at $50. Divided by $50 in EShare, that means they get 2,000 Plazm, right? 2,000 Plazm out of the current supply of 60. I'm not good at math, but what is 60? How much of that is that of the supply? Um, 60. That is 1/30th. 1/30th of the supply alone. Now, think of 1/30th as one person out of 30, meaning there are going to be multiple people that have when Plazm reaches $1, there are going to be multiple people that have 100,000 tokens or $100,000 worth of Plazm. And as I just told you, 1 out of 30. That means 30 people essentially could wipe out the supply when Plazm reaches $1. That and you know what? I mean, don't get me wrong, EShare will probably be higher in price than that. But my point is that really when these big unlocks start happening, people are going to start gobbling up EShare. Why? Because people know, especially a lot of the OGs, that EShare has been to $1,000 before back in the day, and in the hundreds and the 200s, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? And so that's why when AJ made this analogy in the Telegram group about Fusion and what it's doing, kind of like basically how it operates, and the way you should think about it is that it's basically an EShare mining rig, right? Forget the central grid farm tools or the terms or the microgrid term. Forget all that. Think of it like this. You put money in, you buy these microgrids, they're NFTs. You buy NFTs. This is what each one costs right now, 7 cents, right? And for doing so, because of the real yield and the real revenue that EMP is bringing in as a whole under its umbrella, under its ecosystem, whatever revenue or essentially profit that happens from Fusion, or excuse me, from the EMP ecosystem, depending on your ownership of the Fusion protocol over here, will depend on how much of that money you get for participating in Fusion. Right? So let's say, for example, Fusion monthly is bringing in, let's say you have 1%. I'll do more realistic for most people. Let's say you have 0.1% of the ownership of Fusion. And let's say Fusion or the EMP ecosystem is bringing in $100,000 per month. That means that per month you'd be getting $100. Okay? But that's $100 in EShare. This is why AJ said you got to think about this as a EShare mining rig, because the payouts occur in EShare. So USD wise, you get $100 per month, but you're getting that paid out in EShare. Well, what happens when you're getting paid out in EShare daily? By the way, you get paid out daily. You get dripped out money daily. But what happens when you're getting dripped out daily and current EShare price is $13, okay? But you know, when you're getting this EShare every day, and the next thing you know, as Plazm matures, EShare will mature, because essentially they're basically bonded. You know, if you look at the chart, Plazm, EShare, they're bonded here, right? So what happens when Plazm goes up or EShare goes up in the market? This price goes up. So now you're $100. Let's say for argument's sake here that you got $100 worth of EShare when it was $13. What happens when that doubles? Now that $100 turned into $200, right? So this is why when AJ said this, it gave me this light bulb moment. And here's the tickets, ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages. Here's where the light bulb moment came on. I said, why don't I just recreate a mining rig myself? Without creating a whole fusion myself, without creating a protocol myself. Why don't I just create a EShare mining rig myself? And that's what I did. So I came to DexFi. I had this idea. I came over to DexFi and I'm like, you know what? I can create a vault that essentially does the same thing while simultaneously helping out the EShare token by simultaneously helping out the Plazm protocol, and while simultaneously helping out the EMP ecosystem as a whole. So what I did was I created a vault on DexFi called the EShare mining rig. I'll put the link to this under the in the description in the comments, or you can just go to the vault section of DexFi and type it in the search bar. But essentially what it's doing here is you're depositing funds, ETH or USDC on the base chain, into the EShare, basically into the EShare liquidity pool, right? And the reason why I only did EShare into the EShare liquidity pool and not Plazm and EShare, etc., was because Here's what you have to, this is what you got to think of. This is why most people are missing DexFi right now. This is why they don't get it. When you deposit money into here, into the liquidity pool, when you see this daily amount, right? This basically means a rough percentage, an average percentage, if you will, of the daily return on your deposit, aka your investment, right? Because when you deposit into here, into this liquidity pool, you're getting fees, and that fees at this current one is 0.2% daily. Okay. Now on this account, I have roughly $100 deposited into this vault or this liquidity pool, and is making me essentially has made me 5 cents, right? Not very much. But what you got to remember here is that this 5 cents is in EShare. That's what the profit token is. So what, as I said in the fusion, when you have that $100 and fusion and EShare doubles, that $100 really becomes $200, doesn't it? Right? Same mentality here. Whatever our profit is of per day, I'm looking at it like this, ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages. I'm looking at that it's 100x, because I know at least from the current price of Plazm, which is $13, we're at least going to 100x in the next 1 year. That is my opinion, not financial advice, to your own research. That is my opinion. So if I'm getting 5 cents here, let's do the math real quick on my trusty phone, and it's going to do 100x, well, I'm really making, in my opinion, in my head, I'm making $5 per day off of a $97 deposit. Now, we're not done yet. We're not done yet. What a lot of people don't realize here is that when you deposit in here, essentially half your money is going into ETH and half your money is going into EShare. Let me drop some bars on you real quick. Let me drop the knowledge. For all the people in the back, you might want to come a little more forward. You might want to come a little more to the front. About to show you something that a lot of people don't realize. Okay, when you deposit into a vault, you basically create an NFT. This NFT shows you essentially where your money is at, considering that in this particular vault, that 50% of the money that I deposited, 50% of it went to ETH and 50% of it went to EShare. Okay? So this is showing the liquidity here, but I thought it actually showed my personal investment. Hold on a second. It does not. I thought it did. Hold on a second. No, it doesn't. But in any case, what I'm trying to point out here is that 50%, if you look at the liquidity means in this vault. The money in this vault, 50% of it is in ETH and 50% of it is in EShare, which basically means out of my $97, 50% of it, let's call it 100, $50 is in ETH and $50 in EShare. Okay? Now, what happens when EShare goes up? Think about this. If EShare doubles from the current price of $13 to $26, that essentially means that this vault or my deposit is going to double. Now, I'm going to loosely say that simply because if ETH doesn't double, then it'll most likely still, the balance here is what I'm talking about. the balance here will essentially kind of, if it doesn't double, it'll still go up. But my point here is that if EShare doubles, our deposit is likely to double as well, which is very important because what is this vault called? It's called the EShare mining rig. Because essentially what it's doing here is we're putting money into EShare, into the vault, to make more EShare, right? And and this is a long run, again, this is a mining rig. This is a long run, a long-term play here, long-term strategy. Because basically I created this for the long term. I'm just gonna park my money here and let it ride, because when EShare, goes up to $100, $200, guess what? That is essentially a 10x from here right now. Now my measly $97 deposited, or my $100 deposited, is going to turn into $1,000. All the while, I'm earning every day EShare. And again, I'm looking at this as 100x. Then I'm making $5 per day, right? You guys understand what I'm talking about here? I created my own version of an EShare mining rig. And if you don't if you don't see the vision here, you don't understand what's going on, I'm telling you, there's going to be people that are going to watch this video, they're going to deposit a measly $100 into this vault, and come a year later, they're going to be like, that is the best $100 I've ever spent. Because look where we're at. Because here's the thing. If you want to exit, remember, let's say your deposit of $100 turns into $1,000 a year from now. Let's just say, and you want to exit, you come over to withdraw. You come over here. You click this. If you want to withdraw USDC or ETH, you can. But if you wanted to withdraw the EShare ETH LP, you can. And then you could just hold it in your wallet. So what I'm trying to say here is you can exit when the price gets high and your $100 turns into $1,000 or more. You can exit. All the meanwhile, this whole time you've been earning EShare on top of your deposit. Ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages, these are the tickets I wanted to bring you. If you want to get involved with this vault, I'm going to leave the link in the comment section in the description of this video. Additionally, you could just come to the dashboard and do a search for EShare mining rig, and this vault will pop up. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let's see where we're at for 1 year from now. I'm going to make a video January 7th today. Mark my words. Let's see what happens. Let's freaking go.